grow some balls.
Why are you crying? Boys don't cry.
Why won't you just take the compliment?
I wouldn't want another man looking after my kids.
You're not going up like that, are you?
She was asking for it.
But you know what girls are like when they drink?
I think everyday sexism is the small sexist things that people do through their everyday lives, which they might not realise is sexist, or they might not feel is offensive to a certain group of people, or such as a gender. It can also be generally, like, if there's something that's sexist on purpose, that someone says something that's sexist like intentionally, then that could also be everyday sexism.
In my opinion, obviously it happens every day. It's just men and women telling each other that they can't do something because of their gender. And I do believe that it exists, yes.
I'm not exactly entirely sure what to define everyday sexism as, because I don't feel like I've been exposed to it as much as other people. As, you know, being a male, I don't feel like that would be an issue for me as much as it may be for females and stuff in a certain regard. Could everyday sexism be someone rushing to open a door for you and hold it open for a lady to walk through, or is that just an example of niceties and like gentlemanly manners and things like that? But my mum, who's quite a successful business lady, has always told me that it's quite difficult being a woman in a male-based and male-orientated workplace, just because of like outdated, archaic stereotypes almost and things like that. And if I ever felt like someone was oppressing or limiting my mum and things like that, obviously that would offend me and upset me, so no one should have to feel like that, even if it's just a sly little comment like, oh, do you want a hand with that or something, but meant in a sneering, negative tone, implying that women aren't strong enough to carry that or something like that. That to me would be an example of everyday sexism. It's not something that's deeply offensive, but it's something that when you actually read into it, wasn't meant with the intentions that you thought it was.
Yes, I am a feminist because I believe femininity and all of this should be like equality rather than any gender being above the other.
I believe in gender equality, so I'd say yeah, I am a feminist.
Yes, I am a feminist. It's because I believe in equality. I don't want to live in a world where my gender is thought of as lower or less good in some ways, and it means that I want the same opportunities as other people, as men. It's just, I'm very much feminist.
Yeah, I would say I am a feminist. I would say I support kind of both genders kind of having the same equal rights. I think everyone should, really. I don't see why there's such a big stigma about it. I mean, yeah, I haven't been to rallies or I haven't been to any kind of feminism events, but that doesn't make me any less of a feminist than anyone else.
The last time I cried was the beginning of 2016.
Yesterday, actually, but that was the first time I cried in like ages, so you know, it was a good cry.
Last time I had like a proper, actual, real crime was probably a few months ago.
Last night, probably.
Don't know, imagine in the last week or so.
The last time I cried was about 2 days ago, and it was because I was reading this really sad book called A Child Called It.
I'm not really sure the last time I cried. I don't really cry often, but that doesn't mean I don't get upset. I mean, people can still show their emotions through other ways, such as like body language and facial expressions, but yeah, I don't really know the last time I cried. probably like a few years ago, probably did something stupid. Probably, I don't really get angry, I just get sad at things, which is like the opposite, which I feel like is kind of the opposite for like masculine. I've never really been very masculine, it's always just been like, I don't really feel my fears or anything, it's kind of just getting upset about things instead of like facing problems head on, just worrying, like anxiety as well, that's always been a thing.
Hypermasculinity is, I would define it as men being defined as strong characters, and obviously there are other definitions as well, but I think that's the main thing which people tend to focus on, and I think that's definitely a problem, because I think it means it's harder for men to get things like mental health problems help, and I think that's something which probably can't be combated. It's quite difficult to actually identify ways you could do it, and that's why I say it's probably impossible. I mean, my solution would be maybe in the media we need to stop portraying men as strong characters, but that can have negative effects. It can be counterproductive. If you imagine, when a world where men were not told to be strong, then I think there are issues there, because you get to the stage where people can't deal with their problems, and I think there could be big implications there.
I do, because I find like most of my male friends find it very difficult when they're trying to be emotional and they like hide who they really are, because they are expected to seem like all strong and stuff. And I think we should just change the whole idea of gender roles.
Yeah, I do. I do think hypermasculinity is a problem. Things like that. I believe males can't have a deep or emotional conversation with their best friend or something unless they're drunk or doing something out of the normal. It wouldn't be usual for a mate to call up a mate and go for a pint and just be like, yeah, I'm really struggling with stuff at the moment, like I'm not really quite sure what to do, who I can turn to, and that sort of stuff. And in that respect, I believe, yes, that is a problem, because there's a classic attitude or response to things is just man up, shrug your shoulders, man up, get over it, rub some dirt in it, that sort of thing. And I think that had a place, but that's not really necessary anymore. Like people, myself, I'm a male, I play rugby, I go out and get drunk at the weekends, I do all these typical male things. But yeah, I have a little cry last week, and I'll speak to my girlfriend and say, yeah, I'm struggling with stuff at the moment. Like, it's a problem when it gets to the point where you feel like you can't talk just because you're not supposed to talk. That's the only issue I see with it.
I think the consequences are that we then have girls who feel very insecure, and we raise boys to be extremely aggressive and to expect certain things of each other. And so when a man or a woman try to venture out of those stereotypes, they're frowned upon and looked down on just for trying something different.
I think there's a lot of consequences to everyday sexism. I think the biggest one is the impact we have on other people, which is quite an obvious thing, but also quite a hidden thing, I think it's everyday sexism can have a profound effect on if, for instance, you're insulting someone, but also if someone overhears you do it. I feel that can have both a positive and a negative impact. I feel like if there's like a younger person or a child who doesn't really know what you're saying, they might pick it up and then say it to someone else. They say it like at school and they say it to someone else. Then that can have like a chain reaction of just people going around saying sexist slurs that they know nothing about, even though they're about like 10. But yeah, also like I think it's the bottom line of it is insulting someone. It's an offensive term. No matter what you're saying to them, whether it be a boy to a girl or a girl to a boy or whatever really. Like if it's just something small or something big, then it can still have a like long-lasting, maybe like life-lasting impact on whoever you're saying it to.
I think it makes people feel worth less, and job-wise, pay-wise, everyday sexism is not a good thing. That it is something that we need to think more about. It needs to be educated about, because the consequences are that it's going to be prominent in everyday society for a very long time, even more time than it already has been. So I think, like, if it's more difficult for a woman to get a CEO job, like, that shouldn't be a thing. That it shouldn't be more difficult. They should be considered the same. Otherwise, like, what's the point in living in a society where people are like, oh, let's live like in peace and everything like this, but peace is not going to be achieved if we can't live as equals.
Yeah, most definitely. Even if it's just pointing someone in the right direction, or just picking someone up on a sly little comment, just be like, no need for that, or something like that. It's not a massive issue because I don't see it as a hugely oppressing thing that needs to be dealt with, and people that make everyday like small little itty bitty comments need to be punished and things like that. But I think it just takes one of their mates, if it's coming from a boy's perspective, if it just takes one of the boys in the back of the group to say it wasn't necessary or something like that, and just it stops being cool. It stops being a little whimsical thing you can just throw out there and gloss over. And when people pick up on it, you notice it's actually happening. And all it takes is one person to mention something, and you notice it, and stuff like that doesn't keep happening.
I do, but I think it has to happen, like, not everybody believes in it, so we have to, like, it's a slow process, and it will happen over time, hopefully.
Yes, but it might take a while, because it's the kind of thing that, what do? You put public service announcements out. It's a way of thinking. Kind of the popular opinion or general opinion needs to change. It's not even really opinion, it's just a way we think.